Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laurie, and today is a part 2 of the Annie Potts repaint that I was working on in the previous video. And no, the morbid story will not be in this video. I'm going to save that one for the Sabrina repaint. I'll probably time-lapse that and do the story voiceover for that one. And I'm still kind of waiting for some more information about what happened. So I actually have, it's like 2 stories in one. You'll see what happens. You'll see. Anyway, so when I went in to repaint this Annie Potts doll, and that's where we left off, was where I had kind of finished with the PanPastel technique and I was moving into the repaint. So I'm repainting it and I was having a very difficult time. Sometimes I can go in super clean and everything comes out great, and other times I can go in and I'm just like all over the place. And I found that as I was recording, and I almost tossed everything that I was doing because I thought this is not what I want to represent. But then I thought, well, let me just time lapse it and then I'll slow it down on another day when I'm working on it, and my focus is good and my eyes are clear and everything, and I have fresh eyes, and show how I polish up something like that. Because I can remember back in the day when I would start repainting, if things started going south, I would panic or give up. I know that sounds like super dramatic, but you know, when you're doing something like that and you want it to be so beautiful and it's not working out, you just, back then I would just start over. I would just give up and start over or walk away. Well, the other day when I was doing the repaint on the Annie Potts and I realized that things were not working out, I had to put it down and walk away. And I didn't actually repaint for a couple of days after because it was just, I was frustrated. So that's normal. You can do other things. I worked on editing the video. I worked on doll hair, other people's dolls, things like that. So I thought that in doing it this way, I could really focus on how I cleaned up that eye and polished it, and explain in detail how it was done the best I can while I'm working, because it's real time and I'm talking as I'm painting. Anyway, when you do that, it's hard to work and talk at the same time for some reason. I do my best, so I hope that it's super helpful. Okay, guys, it's time to go watch the video. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I will see you on the other side. Oh, yeah. Also, if you have any ideas for future videos, please comment below. I really appreciate it. It helps me come up with ideas of what to do that you would like to see. So, see you on the other side. Bye. So once I finished with the PanPastel portion, I started the repaint using Liquitex acrylic gouache. And that's not to be confused with regular gouache. You can't use that on a vinyl doll because it's a water paint. It reactivates with water. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, I'll just get regular gouache, especially if you're not familiar with all the different paints. It's acrylic gouache. And there's several different brands that carry it. I bought the Liquitex. And the little kit was only 30 bucks, so it was a great deal, but it doesn't have a brown, which is really weird. And if you look at my hand, you can see where I was mixing my own brown out of it because I didn't feel like looking for my other brown. I got it, it worked, but you can kind of see the green and the red swirl on my hand. Anyway, the first mistake I made after I did the PanPastel surface was I should have penciled this doll in. I wish I had. Instead, I just went in with paint. I felt like I was confident enough to do that. I've done it in the past. But for some reason, I should have done it a different way. I should have done it with a pencil this time because I was having a hard time navigating the face for some reason, and ended up causing myself a little bit of grief. Fortunately, it wasn't a total loss. There's no bumpiness or anything like that. So if I just put it aside and come back, I can fix whatever I didn't like. Oftentimes, you know how it goes. If you are doing any kind of art and you don't like it, a lot of times it just means you're not finished. And you do need to walk away, because if you can really ruin a piece of art if you're beyond being able to focus anymore. You need to step away from the doll, put it down, step it away. Come on. So that's what I did. I stepped away from the doll. If you've ever had any frustrations with a doll that you're working on, please comment below. Share with us. Commiserate, because we've all been kind of through it. And there have been more than one time that I wanted to chuck a doll across a room. So I would love to hear from you and your own personal experiences. And also, what do you use to paint a doll? What is your favorite paint? Do you have a favorite brush? I'm sure that anybody who happens across the video would love to know. I know I would, because I have my collection, but that doesn't mean I know everything that's available. I don't. And we can all help each other in so many ways. I don't know exactly what was disagreeing with me when I was painting this doll, because I didn't sketch it, or because I was using the brush that I was using, which was a Princeton Velvetouch 18/0, a typical brush that I use, or the paint wasn't flowing right, or it was just me. I just wasn't seeing well that day. I don't know. I was getting a lot of glare from my lights, or I don't know what was happening, but it happened. And I'm glad I stepped away and gave myself some time, because when I came back, everything just kind of flowed, and it worked great. There used to be a day when I would sit down and not move until I did a repaint from start to finish. But I also look back and think it's probably because I was less advanced, maybe, or used less tools, or I don't know. I did as much as I could for the level that I was at, and that's the same as today. I do as much as I can for the level that I'm currently at. So before we move on to the live, well, it's not live, but the real-time portion of this video, give it a thumbs up if you get a chance, and all that business. You know what to do. You know, I'm still excited, a little bit high over the fact that I have over 1,000 subscribers. Super grateful. And as always, and I think I said it before, if there's something you would like to see, something you would like me to focus on, like a specific thing, I will do my best to do that for you if I can. Now on with real time. I'm going to use this brush, or I'm going to try to use this brush. It was on sale, 50% off, and it's an 18-0 round, so we'll see. I've never tried this Master's Touch brush like this before, but we're going to give it a try. Let's take a look at this brush. It doesn't look great. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not see a good quality brush here, but I have not painted with it yet, so let's give it a try. So here's the doll. Here she is, and I fixed my light in here, and I think, can't tell, but I think it's going to be a lot better. Let me turn you up even brighter. I think it's going to be better, so we'll see. We will see. So let me get my paint over here, and I might bump into things because the thing on my face is a little bit big. Work here. All right, so I was not happy with this doll. I had a hard time seeing what I was doing last time, and of course I want you to be able to see it, but I also need to see it. And I'm going to try to put some of this in real time. So here we go. Let's see if this paintbrush is any good. like I'm having the same issue. For me, this brush is way too soft for the eyes. I need something sharper. I'm not going to give up immediately. Not bad. It's not bad. I feel like I got some of it cleaned up there. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to the eye color so it's not so white. Let me just touch some of the white in there. So I'm going to do a little bit of white. I don't want my an unnatural color for the eye whites, you know. There are a lot of different colors. Alright, so that's not bad. That gives it a little bit more realistic feel. Now I'm going to come in with the black, mix it with the blue a little bit. And hopefully I got it thin enough here because I want to create a shadow right up underneath here. So I'm doing a little shadow underneath because when eyelashes and the eyelid falls down over the eyeball, you're going to have a shadow there. And a lot of times I'll see repaints and the doll will look, if you see that really surprised look on their face, you're like, why are their eyes so, you know, surprised looking? It's because probably the whites are too white and the shadow isn't really there. So it kind of gives that look of surprise. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a highlight in here, right about here. I'm painting an eye as like a sphere, you know, the same thing. So you want the same principle as if the light is coming. I was going to say that, and it is true. For the eye, you want the light to come from one of the angles, so it's coming from here for me. The light's hitting here and it'll be light here too. So I'll just take a little bit of white down here and I would put the light here. I mean, depending on how you like to repaint, I want to try to make it look more realistic, so I'm going to blend that out and layer it with probably golden color and more browns on the other edges and things like that. But my basic thing to create here is the illusion that the sphere is circular, not just a round, but like, I don't know, three-dimensional. Is that the right word I'm looking for? So to do that, you want to build the shadowy dark areas here. Gosh, I wish I could see better. Okay, shadowy dark areas there, and kind of around the edges. It is so the same principle as doing anything three-dimensional, even on a piece of paper. You want your shadows here, and you're going to have a highlight, and then you're going to have the light. Sort of like a ball. It's the same thing. Only you're creating it as an iris. And something this small, I still like to try to come in and get some good detail in here. Maybe some lines to, you know, indicate that all the different variations of eyes, because, you know, they're not just one flat color. They have a lot of variations, and that's one of my favorite parts about repainting, is to do the eyes. I enjoy it. So, but I hope you understand what I'm saying here. How I mean, if you look at this eye is basically one color, mostly a flat burnt sienna, I think is what I put in there. And then over here I've got the burnt sienna underneath, and I'm layering it with burnt umber And I don't remember what the color of this gold is, but it looks like it's like a, I don't know, I'll look it up in a minute. I'll put it up on the screen. But it's variations of color to give your eye the sphere, three-dimensional look that you need. And I'll just add maybe a tiny bit of black. I'm going to try to get really close up in here so I can see well. My problem is my double glasses, I can't see from a distance to record, but my single ones, just the headset, isn't quite as sharp as I'd like it. Maybe I need a stronger ones, but I added some black to give it a little bit more shadow on that side. And then around the pupil, I'm going to add some burnt sienna just around the pupil. I'm just trying to add like dimension to the eye so you can see all the different colors. So I'm going to take a look at this up close, and I'll pause this and take a look. Okay, my decision is I'm fairly happy with the eye. I noticed while I was holding her that there was like a little bit of a thing here I didn't care for. So I was just going to try to clean that up. But I'm pretty happy with the eye, the iris. It's okay. I think I could add some more dimension in the eyeball area. So right around the tear duct, I'm going to go in with some burnt sienna and just sort of tap that in to get that rounded appearance. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to try to do that. And then I don't want any like strong line, so I'm going to make sure that I soften that up. It looks like I just wiped it away. Let me do that. Let me do it again. I don't know if I like this brush or not, so we're still on the fence if I would recommend it or not. Okay, so let me get closer in on this and make sure I don't have any weird lines. I think I'm going to go over the white line under her eye with some of this too, just sort of soften that color so it's not so stark. And let me look at her eyebrows again. So when I did the eyebrows, and I did those in fast, I'm not sure how this brush is going to paint. So it was a good price though. I mean, we're talking a $3 brush. Okay. A fun way to add dimension to your eyebrows is you can start by penciling them in. I often do, but I didn't today. But often I do. You can pencil them in, come in and start doing your hair-like strokes with the browns or whatever color you're using, and then go over it with a PanPastel, seal it, and then go back over it again. It's just going to create this depth, which is what we're looking for. I'm going to come back over the eyeliner. I wish I could see it better. I'm just going to come over and deepen the eyeliner. I need to pull up my picture of Annie Potts to make sure that I'm getting that right, that shape right. So let me pull up the picture really quick. Okay, so as I'm looking at Annie Potts, I see that she doesn't have a huge amount of eyelid, so I'm going to go in there and make that a little smaller using this crazy ass brush I don't know if I like. So I want to create a smaller eyelid. So I'm just going to get my brush and come in here and go closer in to create the smallness of her eyelid. And this will add this. When it's wet, you can still kind of remove some if it's not doing what you want. So I'm just going to kind of take some of it away. don't like that. Okay, but I still kind of got the line that I wanted, so that's good. I think I could do better. I'm going to go above the line now. See if you can see. I'm going to go above the line and sort of like shadow that in to give the illusion that her eyelid is smaller. And I don't know if you can tell by looking at the one picture. I'm just sort of blending this out. I'll go over it again with PanPastels to smooth any kind of lines. It's almost like a cheater's guide to how to do eyeliner, because when I first started, or eyeshadow, I had to blend the actual paint out. So it's really a good way to learn. But now I can go in over it with my PanPastels, and they're such a soft blend that it's like real eyeshadow. So let's look at this eye compared to this eye now. As you can see, the eyeshadow, the eyeliner, not the eyeliner, the eyelid area appears much smaller than it does on this eye. So that will really help. Little things like this are really important when you're trying to capture a character. It's all these little details. So, and she's smiling too in the picture. So I'm going to add some variations, you know, under the eyes and things like that of, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm going to add a little bit of a, like, right under the eye. I want to add a little bit, I don't know what you would call that. Just to indicate that she has kind of a smile going. And here's another thing that's great about this is you can come back in with PanPastel and soften it so it's not a harsh line. So I've done that, and I want to kind of take a mix of my burnt sienna and my burnt umber, just a little bit, and I want to sort of bring it over here, and I want to drag this out a little bit on the sides, sort of trying to create her eye shape with shadows and of course makeup, or what her makeup would look like. And then I want to just take the water and sort of just blend out those lines. And I will tell you that blending out lines on vinyl is super tricky. If you spray it with Mr. Super Clear, and if you stick your finger in it, that also helps. But if you spray it with Mr. Super Clear, it will help a lot to give it tooth for something for it to blend onto. Oh my gosh, no wonder I do voiceovers. So I want to take her eyeline down a little bit more. I just feel like it's a little bit lower. Any little thing like that will help to create a more accurate representation of the character. I just don't know if I've had too much coffee or not enough, you know? Alright, and now I'm getting that quarter. And I have to tell you, I'm not 100% hating on this brush. It almost tossed to the side too. Okay, so I've noticed I don't really think that this part of her eye looks, I looked up to make sure I was recording there for a minute. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be so mad if I didn't hit record. So I'm gonna go over here and try to create her tear duct to be a little bit more shaped like hers, which I think I managed. It's these little tiny things that make a difference. You know, just the shape. Trying to get that shape right. Alright. I think I would be finished with this eye for the most part. I don't really love the tail of that eyebrow, so I'm going to bring it out a little bit. Just kind of, no shaking. What am I doing? I generally have a pretty, that's not dark enough, a pretty steady hand, but it could be the reach. Camera shy. Alright. a little bit better. Let me get a little bit more of that color in there. All right. It's a good rule of thumb to, you can go darker at the end of it and a little lighter at the front. I mean, the variation in this one is really minimal, but it does make a difference. So, do I want to add a little bit of maybe some hair-like strokes right there at the front? Let's see if I'm going to regret this. I think yep, just a few. Well, I have to say this brush is not too bad. Okay, so I feel like, rather than me getting really up close and taking a final look at it, I feel pretty happy with the way this eye looks. I can see I have other problems, but this eye I think is fixed. So I took it from being, if you can see over here, pretty messy to a little bit more polished. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with PanPastels and buff out her around her eyes. And when you do that, you can just take a wet brush if you sprinkle any in the eyeball area and just sort of just wipe it away before you seal it. You want to do that. So that is a quick look at how to polish up an eyeball area.